Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game, the podcast where I, your host, Connor McCabe, bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful or memorable video game from a particular moment in their life. On the show, we talk as much about what made playing that game special and what our guests loved about it, as we will get into the context of how and when they had this memorable time with it. A little bit of housekeeping. Up top is that anything that my guest or I plug on the show today, wherever you're listening, whether it's on a podcast catcher or whether you're watching us on our beautiful YouTube channel, if you scroll down in the episode notes, you'll find a link to all the stuff we're going to plug today. I have a new note here that I wrote for myself that says that for the housekeeping, I used to plug a bunch of stuff. It says, tell people where the plugs go. I did that. The next thing says most relevant plug, and I left it blank because I was supposed to put something there. So I guess what I'll say is that we do a games club every month on our Patreon for the $5 DJ Toad tier patrons and above. And we just had an election for our upcoming games club, and the winner for the baby games category is none other than Death Stranding. I guess because it's got a big baby in it a lot. Well, a normal sized baby. So we nominated, there was a lot of platformers and like kiddie games on there. And so it's the hardest one got chosen. So that should be fun. Again, that's on our Patreon, which you can find a link in the show notes at Super NPC Radio. And there's also a free feed at the Super NPC Games Club if you want to listen to old ones that we've done. Okay, I feel like my first time for most relevant plug was a little clunky, but we did it. Now, I can finally introduce our guest for today's episode. So please welcome someone making a return to the podcast for a second solo episode. Please welcome occasional streamer and otherwise regular person, Kristin Thorson.
Hello. I'm genuinely so happy to be back. I'm happy to be an occasional streamer. I'm living my best life. Happy to yap about video games.
Yes. Kristin, this is basically our entire friendship circles around not just video games, but you graciously spending time with me on podcasts to talk about games. I'm not saying that I need any more out of our friendship, but what people are about to hear is kind of what it is.
Yeah. I mean, are you telling me that you wish to be better friends? Is this your confession?
You know what? I think if I deep down, if I was given truth serum, I would say absolutely. It's a little difficult with the distance, across the country, as I'll say. But for what we have been able to, now this feels like I'm doing a bit. Truly, so happy for the opportunities we have to talk games with each other. And not that anyone's counting, but this is you're the third returning champion for a solo episode. I remember
that feels like a genuine honor.
Truly. Well, I'm not, I kind of start from the beginning and am asking people back that I want back, which is the majority of guests.
Yeah, you hear that, everybody who was on before me and hasn't been asked back?
Yes, I don't know, 40 or so, because you came on to discuss Counter-Strike. So I'm going to look up, I should know this episode number, but I'm going to look it up right now on Google. It's
early.
Yeah. Episode 47, released December 2nd, 2020. So we have just about been talking about
Hitman. 47? Have you played Hitman?
Yeah, you're kind of Agent 47 of this podcast. Now that I think about it. We've been talking about video games for almost 4 years now. Like the listener probably knows, I'm pretty sure we discussed it on your first episode, but you were first a guest because our dear mutual friend, Jake Sprague, recommended you to come on the Final Fantasy X co-op overview episode where we talked about it in a group. And since then, I was just like, I'm going to keep asking this person to come back and see how often that's going to happen. And here you are.
Yeah. Yep. It really worked out. I'm genuinely really grateful to Jake for introducing me to you and the community. I'm in the Discord and stuff.
That's right.
Everybody's super chill. Met Jeremy now. Yeah, I'm networking out here, and not for any personal gain, just for making friends.
Just for buds. Yeah, no, I'm truly so grateful. I was thinking about it, talking about our other mutual friend that I can't help but bring up, Mike Steele. He's one of those people where I did say his name 3 times on a podcast recently, and I thought he might show up like Beetlejuice, and that would be a Mike thing to do.
He might. Sometimes I'll like record other things, and like Michael text me later and be like, "Hey, I heard you like say this thing." I'm like, "You listen to that?" Like, so you never know.
Oh, I love it, but truly so thankful that you guys are both people that like to talk video games with me. Kristin, it's been, you've been on the show within the last year for a couple things, and I'm just kind of hitting the highlights for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have returned for one of our top 10 episodes where our guests list their top 10 favorite games of all time. You came on with the aforementioned Mike and Jake last fall at some point. I ask you almost every year to do a co-op episode. We've, in the last 2 years, talked about Half-Life and Half-Life 2. I've just listed some of your podcast credits, but as far as you go, is there anything else you want to tell the listener about yourself or like plug your Twitch channel? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I do stream. I don't know why I can't get the sentence out.
You do stream. You don't do talk.
I don't talk. It's a completely silent stream, just like the olden times. But no, yeah, I do a stream on Twitch from time to time. My name on there is Kristin. I just kind of stream whatever. I've been a little bad at it lately for the most like vain reason because I've been going to the gym. It's a new habit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. Loving it. But then I want to go in the evening and then I want to take a shower and then my hair's wet and I don't want to wear my headphones. So I haven't been streaming as often in lieu of, pursuing better health.
Yes.
So I'm trying to find a time, like a schedule that works, but I do that.
Yeah. You're like, since we became friends and you first started coming on the show, which I'm going to just call us friends enough times so that everyone starts believing it. I just want the listener to know that
I believe it.
It's good. It's real, and I'm not making it up. But you are someone who I love hopping in to watch your streams. I feel like Mike in the way that you were randomly streaming the other day at a time you don't normally, and
that was very random.
I saw your avatar when I was watching another friend, and I was like, oh, I have to pop in. So you're not streaming as consistently right now or having the game you're playing, but I watched you play, and maybe this will get us into your little bit of your recent history with games, but I saw you playing Fields of Mystria. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Fields of Mystria. It's so good. It's in early access. It's I hate to call something like a clone, but it kind of is. It's like a Stardew Valley clone. But it also has little elements that are pretty similar to Animal Crossing. So it's just like a farming and life sim, but it's in early access right now.
Yes.
But even in early access, it's already so good. I've been hooked on it. So I had to not play it today because I was like, I'll be late for the podcast.
Yeah. I am not surprised that you are enjoying this, being that I know you to be a big Stardew Valley player. And this is a game that since it's been released, I've also truly only heard praise about how much people are loving it and how it sure is like a Stardew clone, but a lot of people have been like, this might be the best one of those that I've played and maybe does some things better than Stardew, or just have had some quality of life things that I think people enjoy. I don't know if any of that rings true for you so far.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely has quality of life, just quality of life changes that are super nice. And in the way that Stardew was a Harvest Moon clone, but was better than Harvest Moon, I feel like Fields of Mystria could be the thing that is a little better than Stardew, maybe. Yeah. But the thing is that I love Stardew Valley so much that it's ruined pretty much every other farm sim for me. Anytime I get another farm sim, I'm just like, I want to play Stardew Valley, and then I launch up Stardew Valley instead and forget about it. It's like that meme of Andy dropping his toy. That's just me for Stardew every time. Whatever the new game is, I'm going back. Back to
it's almost the reverse of it, of the meme, as if Woody goes back up into Andy's hand and Buzz gets dropped, sort of.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so good. To also get us into this a little bit, I was just wondering, how would I describe you as a gamer as far as what I know your taste to be? And from my perspective, it seems like you have such a wide range of genres. I know some streamers, not that streaming is everything. Like myself, I'll call myself a variety.
Streaming is everything.
You know what? I actually really take that back. Do you mind if I take that back?
Yeah, take that back. Cut this out.
Yes. I would say I'm a variety streamer because I play kind of just what I feel like and all sorts of genres. If you had to put yourself in a box as a gamer, would you say that you are similar, as in you like all sorts of genres? Are there things you gravitate towards? I'm curious.
Yeah, I for sure say that I'm variety. Like, I'll play a little bit of whatever, with a couple of exceptions being like MOBAs and fighting games, and that's just because I'm bad at those.
Sure.
And so I don't want to play them because I'm bad at them. But otherwise, I'll play pretty much anything. Just this weekend, I spent a whole day playing through a visual novel.
Whoa.
Just literally 10 hours of my day played a whole visual novel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then I'll load up, like Counter-Strike afterwards.
Yeah.
You gotta
Palate
let out the
cleanser.
aggression after all that reading.
Yeah. What was the visual novel that you just blazed through?
It's the new Famicom Detective Club game, the MEO the Smiling Man.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I feel kind of lucky. We might get a hot press review here. What do you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. At first, I will say, if you are the type of person who likes a content warning, look one up. It definitely is worthy of it. And then I highly recommend, there's like an epilogue, and I was at the very end of the game a little dissatisfied, and then I did the epilogue and I was like, all right, I like this now. like I still, everything leading up to the end I really enjoyed. Then the end was a little bit of a letdown, and then I feel like maybe because it's Nintendo had them be like, hey, take this and put it somewhere else, because there's kind of like an extra warning before you start the epilogue. So I think maybe it was like an intensity thing, but it's pretty grim.
Yeah. Wow.
Of a game, but I liked it.
It's not a game I've touched, but I know one of my good friends who's also in our Discord, Patrick. Patrick, if you ever need somebody to talk to about, I don't know if he's done, but he's kind of also trying his best to blaze through it. Yeah. And he also is like a recent Famicom Detective Club convert when those so I guess the remasters came out.
Yeah, they came out a couple of years ago, and I just bought them on a whim because I do like visual novels. I will swear up and down that I am not like a weeaboo. I'm not like, I don't like anime. I don't really like, I'm not like into that otaku culture, but I love a really cringy like anime visual novel. Okay. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to play these. And they are not like cringy at all. They, in my opinion, stay away from a lot of the tropes. And I think part of that is that Famicom Detective Club, like, pretty much, as far as I know, made the visual novel like format back in the day. And so, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I'll try these out. And I really liked them. So
awesome. One thing I want to ask you about too, before I even bug you more about like more recent games that you've been playing, whether it's old stuff or something new, like MEO the Smiling Man. Since we started doing, podcasting together about 4 years ago, would you say that you've seen any change in you as a gamer, whether it be taste, how you approach playing games, your time spent? I'll let that all sort of wash over you.
Yeah, I think I am unfortunately playing, not unfortunately, I guess I am playing a little less because I had a big move. I moved from my hometown last year to a whole new place, and it's been actually really like fruitful for me as like socially. I'm actually like leaving the house. I'm going to the gym. Hey. So there's nothing wrong with like not doing those types of things. Yes. I was that way for a very long time, but I've been finding it fulfilling, and then as a result, I have like a little less time to split between. I love reading, so I like balancing reading, games, and movies, which I also love. Like that, it's been, I have a little less time for each of them, so I play a little less. And I also I don't remember where I was at with multiplayer games when we first recorded that Counter-Strike episode, but I definitely hardly play any multiplayer games anymore. Like I used to love talking shit. I used to love getting on and being just like an absolute like jerk if someone was being a jerk to me. Yeah. To be fair, it's like when I turned like in my late 20s, I would say, it became like I would not actively start the smack talk in Counter-Strike and things like that. But if someone started smack talking me, gonna lean into it.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I'm way less toxic now is a better way to put this.
I'm
a less toxic gamer.
Different than the were you like that during the internet cafe days or just after that?
During the internet cafe days a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if I said this on the Counter-Strike episode, but I remember getting so mad. I was on this all-girl team once, and there's this map in Counter-Strike called Aztec, and it has a water, like a little river at the bottom, and if you step in the water, it makes noise, and then the other team knows where you are. And I remember just getting so mad that this girl didn't know that's
oh
how
my
that
god,
because it was like me and one girl who really played Counter-Strike,
yes.
and then the rest were what like the term skate park girls. Very misogynist,
I can assume
probably,
of what type of girl that is, or like why that term came into play. Yeah,
there are like, or at least back in the day, there were like LAN center versions of skate park girls.
Yes.
They were all on the team. And I was like, you guys don't even play this. Why did you sign up?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, look at you now.
That was when I was like 16, to be fair. Also,
yes, you've slowly weaned yourself off of then only talking smack if it was talked to you to now hardly playing multiplayer games. So it's mostly
and I keep it muted now. If I like team chat, turn it off.
Yeah, so a little less playing, but more of a balanced life, it sounds like. And it also sounds like just continuing to just be a solo champion over here. So that being said, we talked about MEO a little bit. Are there any games within the last year, some highlights that you would like to hit on during this section? Yeah,
I think like this year so far, I loved Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I like it almost like ruined other games for me. I feel like every game I've tried, like there was like a 4-month period where every game I tried, I was just disappointed by, and I was like, I just want to go back and play Rebirth.
Like I also had like a short like cooldown period too, but what you're describing, I've heard many people feel this way, not just in the Discord, but outside of it, of like, what do I even do now?
Yeah, it's like post-vacation blues, but for a really good game.
Yes.
And I totally get why it might not be some people's cup of teas, but if there's two things, many things I love. Side quests, I love a stupid side quest, like especially when it's collecting something, and I love mini games.
Yes.
And that game is rife with both. So it was like made for me.
Yes. I loved that game. I think I truly was a crisp 100 hours when I completed it, and I have not turned it back on since. What kind of experience were you like very thorough in your playthrough?
I was pretty thorough. I did all of the field research as I went along. Like I wouldn't move on until I cleared an area. But then I got to, and I'm going to say this without like spoiling what it is, but I guess maybe a mechanic that there's for the relics, the proto relics, after you get them all, there's like another part to that quest that loads up. And I was like, oh, let me do this. It's probably just like the final thing. So fucking hard. I tried it once and I was like, all right, I'm not doing that.
Dude,
that's the type of thing where I've changed as a gamer. I don't have time to do that.
I noped out. Also, truly I don't remember even which one of those things I tried, but I noped out and was like, I am really okay with like not doing this, because I think it was truly the last thing I didn't do 100% everything, but it was like the last quest that I was like, this is my thing. And because the battles and the battle system in that game I found to be so fun and entertaining, especially mastering, like not just the way you play, but like efficient ways to get good, I guess. But it was so funny. As soon as I got to that, I just totally flipped and I was like, no thanks. Yeah,
exactly. It's like I did all the Queen's Blood stuff even. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll 100% this game. And then I was like, I'm not going to even 70% this game.
Yeah. Goodness. What an experience. I wonder how, because that was 4 years between, remake and rebirth. I wonder if we'll wait a similar amount of time until the finale part of the trilogy comes out. It's really hard to say, but I'm going to miss my buddies in that game.
Yeah. I really think like 'cause remake I liked but didn't love.
Sure.
But this game I just loved. I feel like they really nailed pretty much everybody's vibe, and like the silliness of the original Final Fantasy VII was back. I'm curious. I don't think it'll be as long of a wait because I'm assuming they have most of the assets made that they needed, now that it's already on PS5, but who knows with Square Enix. This is coming from somebody who bought a PS3 in hopes that Kingdom Hearts 3 would come out on it. So
oh, that's so good. So I know Rebirth is a huge one for you. I have one last question I'm going to ask you too, but is there another game that you're like, oh, if I don't shout this one out from this last year, I'm going to just kick myself?
I think last year it was, I finally played the Live Alive remake for this. I have it on the Switch and Steam, but I think it only came out on Steam last year, which is why I finally played it.
Okay.
I love that game. I never played the original. If you like good video game music, it has a Yoko Shimomura soundtrack and it rules. It's so good. If you know that song Megalovania from Undertale, like that's like explicitly inspired by one of her songs in Live Alive. I just thought it was so fun because you play these individual stories and each one has like a different mechanic to it. Like one of them is straight up, like it's not a fighting game. Like the combat doesn't change, but like it's the whole storyline is just like you choose a fighter to go against, and then you have little battles against them and stuff. And then it's just it's a completely different like style each little storyline, and then they all converge. And it's really great. Oh yeah, I have this. I don't know if there's video of this going up, but I have this little. Oh, okay, I have this little cube plush. I paid an inordinate amount for to import from Japan.
That's the robot from space.
Yes, and he's round and his name is Cube.
Oh, when I played the demo, because I was convinced, I was like, I'm gonna love this game. I played the demo, and that's the one that I did from the demo, and I still haven't picked it up. But it seems to me, as someone who enjoyed quite a lot the first two Octopath Traveler games, but clocked out at like 50 hours for each of them, Live Alive kind of seems like the experience that I actually want out of a game.
It's not that long.
Yeah.
I gotta try Octopath Traveler, honestly. I just recently, I think it was Octopath Traveler that I was good. It's either that or Bravely Default.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of the conversation was that I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yes.
Has like this mini game in it where you have to manage a town.
It
must be Bravely Default.
It could be. Then. Do you remember the art style?
No, just noticed that like 2D HD that they both have.
Yes, I can't say which one it is, but that's fun. But Live Alive, okay. Great. That was an original, like, Oscar Montoya, speaking of our Final Fantasy X episode. Oscar was like, Connor, if you like all this stuff, you're going to love that. And it was before the sort of I guess, first real translation came out here. The version you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The last question I have for you is, what is a game or games that you're looking forward to on the horizon? It could be a new release. It also could be a backlog game that you're finally going to get to.
I am actually really excited for Astrobot.
Yes, 2 days from when we record this.
I'm gonna go specifically out on the weekend to go buy Astrobot, and I have to work over the weekend for like a project.
Oh, really?
And I don't normally have to work, and I'm like, my Astrobot time. But I love Astro's Playroom is like the best demo of anything I've ever played. I loved that little tech demo game. So I've been really looking forward to Astrobot coming out.
Me too, and it kind of feels like it's just snuck up. I knew it was coming out this fall, but then suddenly last week someone was like, hey, that's coming out next Friday, and I too am going to leave my den to go to probably a Best Buy to buy Astrobot. So gosh, I can't wait for it. I just got done playing Psychonauts 2. I think I was talking to you about that over text a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was really fun to play a 3D platformer. It's obviously way more, I'm assuming, going to be way, 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 way more narratively focused and comedy focused than like an Astrobot. But I am kind of digging and yearning for an experience like that. Because I assume, at least playing, like you said, the Playroom and toying around with Rescue Mission one time with the VR headset. I assume that it's going to be a lot more focused on the platforming and platforming creativity, kind of like the 3D Marios can be. I know they're not the same. It kind of is apples and oranges. All that to say, I'm just so stoked for it like you are.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know. I just am happy to see that kind of game coming out again. Like, I don't know. I used to love Little Big Planet, which I know also is not like the same type of game, but I just miss when they would make like fun little games like that. Like, I don't need everything to be a God of War or Horizon. Like, I just want like a fun little game sometimes.
I'm kind of amazed that Sony's even doing this, because that's all they do anymore are those third person. And I play most of them. I love them, but the third person prestige action games, like, it's nice to see. This is a breath of fresh air, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice too. Like, I love Nintendo, but it's nice that, you know, it's like a family game that's not a Nintendo IP for once. Like, and don't get me wrong, I finally played Super Mario Wonder also.
Oh, nice.
Also great. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Well, this is just going to give me, you know, a further excuse to text you over the weekend to be like, have you had a chance to open it up yet? Well, Kristin, unless there's anything else you want to say about your recent history with gaming, I think I'll take us to the break. But is there any last words you want to get out?
Nope. I'm going to keep them all in.
Glorious. Restraint, we call it. Well,
yeah, I got to save it all for my game.
Oh, we're going to really just let it fly. Okay, great. Well, then I'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll finally get into all things. I'm realizing now, Kristin, I didn't even have you introduce the game you brought on for today.
I thought that was on purpose.
No, I like totally forgot.
I thought it was like after the break we'll say what game.
Well, we'll tease it now so we can talk about it. But will you call me by your game?
Yes, the game I've brought to you today is Habbo Hotel.
Can't wait. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game. Connor McCabe here, returning to discuss Habbo Hotel with Kristin Thorson. Kristin, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Or should I say Baba?
Oh, you know what? I bet that's something I don't know about from this game. The last guest I had on, she talked about League of Legends, which I know truly nothing about outside of that it's a MOBA. And it was so funny. She was so patient with me talking about the things that she loves and describing them. So Baba is just the tip of the iceberg for us, I think.
Did you have to learn like what jungling was?
No jungling talk, but I learned a couple characters and a few more things. But anyway, I'll go ahead and start, getting into a little bit of table setting for the listener. But like I said before, if you want to jump into any time, please do. But without further ado, here I go. Habbo, also known as Habbo Hotel, is a virtual world and a massive multiplayer online game. It's owned and operated by, Solake, and founded in 2000, Habbo has expanded to 9 online communities or hotels with users from over 150 countries. As of October 2020, 316 million avatars had been registered with the game. This stemmed from a 1999 hobby project by creative designer Sampo. And man, this is why you read this stuff before, because you might get to names that you just don't know how to pronounce.
They're super Finnish names, so I don't blame you. Apologies
to the Finnish people out there, but Sampo K and technologist Apo K entitled Mobile's Disco. So this was like the hobby project they made for a Finnish band. It was a virtual chat room running on Fuse technology. And after having been contracted to design a virtual game and chat called Lumisoda, Snow Wars Wars in parentheses, I think that's what it means, for Finnish internet service provider, they were contracted for another project. They developed what was called, in English, Hotel Goldfish at the time, and it launched in August 2000 on the ISP's web portal. The website is divided into 3 clients at this point: Habbo, Habbo X, and Habbo Hotel Origins. I assume, and maybe this is a good time for you to jump in, that this is kind of like how they have Warcraft and Warcraft Classic. Do you think there's any similarities we can draw there?
Yeah, it is like that. Or like if how you can play RuneScape or like RuneScape OG.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the same idea. They just, funny enough, they like just launched that Habbo Classic.
Oh, interesting.
I got an email because my email is still registered, even though I don't play it. And then I also got a message from an old friend being like, dude, did you see they launched like Habbo Classic? So yeah, it is new, but yeah, it's how I remember it being now. Is Habbo Classic.
Okay, cool. It says here too, just have a little more to share that the Habbo client is aimed at teenagers and young adults, while Habbo X and Habbo Hotel Origins cater for adult players, allegedly. Users on the game can create a virtual avatar called a Habbo, converse and interact with other players, play games, build and design virtual rooms, take care of virtual pets, and complete quests. As far as history and context goes, or table setting, Kristin, what else would you like to include? Anything else about this game?
I just think that like there was this weird little niche of games like this at the time.
Yes.
Like I think a lot of people know Club Penguin now, but this was kind of like pre-Club Penguin.
Yeah.
And even before Habbo Hotel, I used to play this game called Coke Music, which was basically like the same thing, but sponsored by Coke, and you could make like music tracks in it. And everybody was really awful at it because we were like 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so it's like a weird period in time between like chat rooms and video chat, where it was these avatar chats instead. You had an episode with someone where they talked about Virtual Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
I also played that because I played Habbo and I love Disneyland. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try VMK. I tried to look for it when you had that episode. I have like a wristband of it.
Oh my gosh.
From Disneyland. I couldn't find it.
Oh no way. We talked about some of the park interactivity with VMK too. So, oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. And I remember you chiming in. I think it was like on the Discord, you like left a comment or something that was like, I played this. It's truly just like even doing research for this, it's so hard not to compare the two, especially because they're both from an isometric perspective, and even the art style isn't too dissimilar. I guess I could have just said they look similar. But yeah, okay, interesting. Anything else you want to say about it before we jump into your personal time with the game?
No, I don't think so. Just well, I guess maybe one thing. It used to be that back when I very first started playing, it was separated into every country had its own Habbo, like its own Habbo hotel. So there was Habbo US, UK, Canada, everybody had their own site. So sometimes you would even have to if you had friends who were on the UK site, you'd have to log into the other one. And then you'd have two Habbo hotels running at the same time. But then eventually they merged it into one when they started doing less well, I think.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that would be really funny to be now I'm just thinking about it like Paris Disney, or like how is this park different than ours? But a hotel context. Well, let's dive into your time with the game. The first thing I want to know is how you discovered this thing. I think you said you were talking about playing a different game before the Coke Music, but how'd you come to play Habbo Hotel?
Yeah, I was very online, and I actually should have considered that you would ask me this question before I submitted this game, because I actually found it back in the day. I need to emphasize that I was 14, 13.
Yes.
I would use 4chan and stuff like that back in the day. And it was a thing where people would just kind of go on there and there was a worse thing that came to be, and we won't talk about that. That is pretty notorious that 4chan would do to Habbo Hotel, but I just kind of hopped on because there was a thread where everybody was like, go to this room and annoy this person. But then I logged on and I was like, I actually really like this.
You got did you play this in a browser? Was it a download that you would do? It
was a browser. It was like a Shockwave type pop-up in your browser.
Okay, so you mean that you started playing it and then you were like, oh, I actually like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Just went on there to kind of observe the people being jerks. I honestly didn't even participate. I just went to see what is this? And yeah, then I was like, I actually find this very intriguing, and so I just kind of kept logging on. It was to the UK site. Yeah, and so it might have been, I don't remember, that maybe the US version didn't exist yet, and it was only the UK one.
Huh.
So yeah, I just kind of started signing on there, and then slowly started making friends and like becoming a regular in different rooms.
Interesting.
And then it just kind of spiraled from there to like crazy heights.
Yes.
Like I was very into this game.
Oh, well, I feel like that was just such a great sort of like preview of the details we're going to get into today. So I think where I want to start here, after you had been playing the game, what was it about that experience that you think grabbed you or intrigued you to keep returning?
I have always loved like chat rooms. I've been so online for so long. Like I know for a fact that
it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, in some ways, yes. In other ways, my brain is fried. But back in the day, like I used AOL chat, like when that was a thing. Dude. When I was 8. Actually, I know it was when I was 8 years old because my username was kiddo889 because I was 8, and I was a kiddo.
That's great. That sounds like a AI generated like kids username.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then I got one time I got banned from AOL chat. Have I ever told you this story?
I don't know. I'd love to hear it.
So I was in a chat room for like the kids age range, and I discovered the tilde button, and I put a bunch of them in a row and typed in all caps, "Who farted?" because it looked like wind. And I got banned for 15 minutes, but I was little, as we established. I was 8.
Yes.
And then all I saw was I was banned, and I started hysterically crying. My parents come over to the computer and they're like, "What's wrong? What happened?" And I was like, "I got the account in trouble." And my parents read the message that was like, "You were banned for this message," and we're like dying that was what I had that was my big crime. So that was my first foray into being a menace on the internet.
I mean, that story sounds familiar. Like I may have heard you tell it before, but it hits like it's the first time because that is so much about that is so funny. Like you doing just like a harmless joke to basically thinking your life is kind of over the next second.
I just thought it was so funny, and then I was like, "Oh no, yes. I killed the president." Like,
gosh, that's good. Oh, so you've been very online. So like chat rooms were something that you enjoyed, and so that was like kind of the thing that got you in here. So I think where you were heading. Yeah,
pretty much. Because then from there it was like MSN chat rooms, then like Yahoo chat rooms. I always found some sort of like chat client to make friends in and be a part of.
That's really cool. Okay, great. So what are some of like your do you have like memories of playing this game and like things that you would do or rooms you would go to? Because from my understanding and research is that every Habbo has like their own room in the hotel. So, which, not to get nitpicky, but I was like, this is an apartment, but
it is kind of an apartment. Yeah. Some of them are real penthouses, to be perfectly honest.
Oh.
You could get a real big room layout when you paid for Habbo Club.
I did see some context about how like you could pay a certain amount of month. And the video I was watching, the person was from the UK. So she was talking about it in pounds for what you would spend for, I don't know if it was to like have a better account or for aesthetic upgrades, but I kind of interrupted you. Sorry.
No, it was aesthetic. It was aesthetic stuff. And I remember begging my mom to like take me to the CVS and let me get a Habbo card because you could buy like cards to redeem. And I think she let me do it a couple of times, but otherwise I relied on like the gifts of others.
Yes.
But yeah, like I have a lot of like core memories with it because like you said, everybody had their own rooms. But there was also little like subcultures. So let me first tell you the subcultures I was not a part of.
Yes.
There are a lot of young people and probably older people in disguise doing nefarious things online. Not a part of that, need to be clear.
Yes.
There were also adoption agencies, which were people acting like babies. And so do you know what uwu talk is?
I don't. And you're going to have to explain it. It's not a Sims thing, is it?
I'm thrilled to explain uwu to you.
Good.
It's when somebody types like with W's like, "Hello, Connor." like that.
And it's called woo-woo talk?
Uwu. UWU.
Okay, cool.
Uwu.
I'm going to retain this.
Yeah, it's very, And so there were these people who basically, this was before I think it was called Uwu Talk, but they would talk like that. They'd be like, will you adopt me? Like, and like people would go there and adopt them. And that's all I know about what they were. Then there were people just doing like mini games. Like people would make these get so much furniture and just compile it into these mazes where you'd have to click in precise spots. And then casinos. Those were all things that I didn't like.
Okay.
Did not do, but they were prevalent.
So elaborate too, some of these.
Yeah. The casinos, crazy, like little internet mafias run by 14-year-olds.
Were they, I mean, again, I know you weren't a part of it, you said it, but do you know, like, was like an item you could get like a slot machine? Like, do you know what we mean by casino?
There was like there's this item, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a die. So it would like open up and then you would roll the die. And basically people would play higher or lower, I think.
Oh,
with
okay.
It.
Gotcha.
And there's a whole like Habbo economy where certain items are rarer. Like if you do the Habbo Club, sometimes you get items that come out like only when you've been like there for 12 months, like so there's like at the time it was like Habbo Club HC for short. The HC sofa, this green sofa, was like the stand, like that's like your $1 that it, you know, and it's like, okay, I'll pay you 4 HC sofas for a throne chair. And so people would like bet their furniture in these casinos and have to trade it over and stuff. So then there were also scammers who would open up like fake casinos. Is like a whole thing. And me, I was just like, I love my furniture. I'm not going to bet it.
Yeah, but that is so nuts to just know all of the like, the underground operations that were going on, or not underground, just kind of like out there. Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. It was wild. And then there were certain items you could only get. Actually, if I could take a moment to toot my own horn.
Toot away. And now we know who farted in the chat room.
It was me all along. There was this item that they came out with. It was a DJ deck. Ooh. And I was, okay, this is going to sound weird out of context, but I'll give additional context. I was friends with like this older man who was like the general manager. He was friends with a lot of us. Okay. Like just like internet friends. And sometimes he would join us on like Skype calls or our little radio shows that we hosted. Sure. But I promise, like, I know when you hear that, you're like, this 50-year-old man was hanging out with these teenagers. But like
a general manager at Habbo?
Yeah, okay. Like he was the general manager of the US website.
Okay, just want to make sure I had that context understood. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I am like actually still in contact with him. He's like it was not anything like weird. He just genuinely finds like he would write articles and stuff about like these little community cultures that grow online. And so he was just really interested in learning that kind of stuff.
He's going to hear this episode. I know you're listening, Chet.
He might. His name was Brojo.
Okay.
Yeah. And he hooked me up with a DJ deck before they were like officially launched. So there was like a solid month where I had the only DJ deck on Habbo Hotel US.
No way. Would people come to see this? Were you showing it off even?
Oh, absolutely. I was like, look at my DJ deck. And I still would talk about it for like a year. Like I had one before they came out. Like, and then there were typewriters you could only get for like writing an article that got published in their blog. And I had one of those too. Hey. Yeah, so I was wheeling and dealing, doing the Habbo grind.
You really were. That's so cool. When you were referencing those other communities earlier, you're like, I wasn't a part of these. Did you start to talk about the communities you were a part of?
No, I guess I didn't. I skipped that. But there were like so there were a few things. There were these. There would be like kind of like guilds and when I was very first starting, I would hang out in some of those places where they were just like, there would be like a barred off area where only members could go in and then everybody else could hang out in the lobby area of the room and like chat back and forth. And then you had to be kind of like invited to join. And so when I was first starting out, I would hang out there. And then as it went on, I made friends with, this sounds like kind of horrible to say, but like I guess just like what I consider to be like just the normal people on there who were just online treating it like a chat room. And that's kind of where I hung out, was just with people who were like, I don't think we had any weird subculture other than I was a DJ for Habbo Hut, which was a fan site, and so I was in with like the DJ crowd for a little bit, I guess you could say.
Well, that only makes sense. You had the first DJ deck. You had to become a DJ.
Yeah, exactly. I was DJ Affy.
Oh my gosh, was that your character's name or was that your DJ's name?
That was my DJ's name, because my character's name was really. Like, because how I said I first joined just to like not intending to use it really, I literally just jammed my home row on the keyboard. And then instead of making another account, I just stuck with that and then was stuck with it forever. It's still my username on there.
That is so funny. Do you like, I want to ask just a little bit more about this whole DJ thing. How did this come to be? Did someone reach out? Were you like lobbying to be a DJ for the fan site?
Yeah, I applied. So there were like smaller fan sites where you could DJ, and it was just with like Winamp, and you would play your illegally downloaded MP3s.
Oh, so you somehow you're like choosing songs on your computer.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like so these were separate websites that people would have up while they played. And then you'd host like a party when you were live. It's so cool.
Did you have any like did you have like a night where you did a set where you were like, this is like the best, or do they kind of run together?
I couldn't tell you. I will say when we discussed that we were going to do this, I logged on and I was looking, and you could get given trophies and gift boxes from people where they would just write a little message on like the tag or on the trophy. I had some from people I've never heard of where they were just like, DJ Affy, I love your show. Only like 3, but I was just like, I don't know who that is. Like, obviously I had the ones from people who were my friends also, but so it was like, not big numbers. You were probably like doing this for like 50 people, but it felt really big at the time. And like, I'd tell my parents, hey, I'm going live. Like, I'll be in here for like the next 40 minutes or whatever. Nobody knock.
Yes.
Like it was a very serious business. I remember.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. There was this girl in my high school who was in a band, and like they were moderately successful. They had like a music video that hit Fuse. And I remember hitting her up on MySpace and being like, hey, I do this like little DJ show. Is it okay if I play one of your band's songs on there? And she was like, yeah, fine. Like, in retrospect, she was probably like, what the fuck is this?
Yes. Do you remember the band's name?
Yeah, Meg and Dia.
I gotta look this up later. There's got to be like a MySpace or something out there with this band's info.
Oh, absolutely. They're definitely on Spotify. I still go back to that well every once in a while. I liked their music.
Oh, dude, I feel like we're already getting like just so many fun details about your time here. Is there, before I dive into a little more of the context, which we're kind of getting as we go, is there another element of Habbo Hotel that you haven't mentioned yet, whether it be like a thing you did or like another item that you were really excited about?
Yeah, I don't want this to seem like I just came on here to brag about my weird achievements on this weird obscure website when I was 14.
I want it too, so I'll allow it.
No, but it was like it's just to emphasize how into and how important this was to me.
Yes.
When I like. This wasn't even what I was going to share. I was going to say at one point I was English, my easiest subject. I can phone that in. One point I was getting like a D in English and my teacher was like, what's going on with you? And it was literally that I wasn't doing my homework because I was playing Habbo Hotel.
Oh my gosh.
But I also, they needed somebody one time to like do an interview for like a press piece they were going to run in the USA Today. Mm-hmm. And I remember talking to my parents about it and explaining to them, like, no, like, it's not a scam. Like, this is legit. Like, this is the guy. Like, we talk to him all the time. I showed them, like, here's his, like, badge on the website.
Yes.
That it's really him. And then he got me in touch with, like, the lady above him. And straight up got back in the day on the house phone, caller ID, like, Sulake, like, calling. And they scheduled some time where I did like a little interview with, I think it was USA Today.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, where they just like asked me questions about like, why do you like to play Habbo Hotel? And I've tried to look before for that article to see, but I can't find it. But I remember being like the little teacher's pet in me was like, oh my God,
yes,
I'm important.
Yes.
Like, and I think I can't believe we don't have a copy of it somewhere, but
yeah. Did you ever see it like back when it was printed?
Absolutely. I remember getting it. And that's what's driving me nuts about, I have no idea where it is. Like,
you better believe I'm going to be also furiously Googling after this, like Kristin Thorson, USA Today, Habbo Hotel, Kristin Thorson, like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It was such a big to me, that was like the biggest moment of my life at the time. It was so cool. And I also like couldn't really tell many people about it because I didn't want to like dox myself. Sure. But I told like the people who I was close with at the time. And I just remember being like, so like,
that is
Bex called me.
Truly. Oh, that's so cool. All right, I'm going to spin us off into a little bit of context here. Did you say you were playing this on a family computer?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. What I want to do first is sort of like to get in the headspace. Can you sort of like describe the room and scene paint for me what the room was like where this computer was set up?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the family computer, so it's got like one of those desks where it has a rollout tray for the keyboard. Yep. Speakers that like crackle when you turn them on. Yep. My mom's I Love Lucy memorabilia all over the wall.
Okay, that's awesome.
My mom is a big I Love Lucy fan, so you know when you like a thing, and then everybody gets you that thing. That's my mom's thing.
100%.
Yeah. I have like the world's jankiest headset to have my headphones on. I'm trying not to be too loud because my sister's room is right next to it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, at the time it might have been my uncle's. That's a whole nother podcast. We had a rotating cast of people living in our home.
Just like it shared a wall with another bedroom there.
Yeah, it was between my bedroom and my sister's bedroom. Okay, the computer room had a couch, like an old beat up love seat behind the computer. Yeah, a cat sitting on my lap. My childhood cat would always be there.
What was that cat's name?
Lil. I had Phil and Lil.
Okay, Rugrats fan. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Lil passed away first, so then we just had a cat with no context named Phil, which is also great.
That is great. It sounds like kind of a classic, like, you know, early 2000s family computer room. This is awesome. Yeah. And this is in Viva Las Vegas at the time, right?
Absolutely, Viva Las Vegas.
Okay, great.
As we all call it there.
Yes, yeah. Was it the last episode we were on that we did with Mike and Jake where I kept bringing up I was saying something about Las Vegas that was destroying you guys. Something about
it might have been Viva Las Vegas. It was something.
It was something about what's the other street, like the old
Fremont Street.
I kept bringing up Fremont Street, and I think that's what it was. Anyway, okay, so I'm in the headspace. Honestly, I wish I could just travel back in time to this room and space because it sounds amazing. And I'm feeling nostalgic. During this time in your life, when you were getting into this game and, you know, having your, you know, significant run with Habbo, what are some like details from your life that you remember? Whether it be like things you would have been doing outside of the game. And does anything come to mind when you think about that?
Yeah, I was definitely like in high school, like a freshman in high school. Cool. So I was still playing Counter-Strike, going to the LAN center in my off time when I wasn't playing Habbo Hotel. Yeah, this was kind of like when I wasn't playing like real games, quote unquote, I would be playing Habbo. Probably playing my PS2 as well a lot. Right.
Sifting through a player's guide, as I know you were one to do.
Absolutely. I was looking at those the other day and I was like, I gotta show these to Connor again.
Anytime you want to just send me a picture of a player's guide, I'll open it and I'll love it.
Yeah, I honestly at the time, like, even though I went to school and I would hang out with my friends and stuff, but I was still pretty big homebody, so I was really just using Gaia Online. Do you know what that was?
I don't. I've got to know now.
anime based like message board.
Okay.
But they had like these mini games, and if you need to know one thing about me, it's that I love a fishing game. And they had a fishing game, so I loved it.
That checks out. Okay, so you're once again you're not an anime head. I'll believe you. You pivoted to mini games.
Everything about me points to that I would be, but I'm not.
Okay, cool. I had to joke again. Okay, so that's really great, and it's fun that this sort of like does cross over into the context from of the game you talked about on your first episode of those similar kind of Counter-Strike days. Do you when you think of this time too, whether it be playing the game or like a moment in the game or a moment just in your life, is anything memorable stick out in particular, like a day or an event that happened?
Yeah, I think like maybe not like a specific event, but I do think about like a lot of time I spent. I had this friend, who knows, maybe she'll listen to this. We're still friends on Instagram. I had this friend named April, and we would be on like Skype together, playing Habbo Hotel like all day, like just all day for hours, just playing Habbo. That I think is like the big one that sticks out to me.
That's so cool. Like you made a connection there, and since you couldn't be, sitting next to each other on like a floor playing a video game, you were early adopters of doing that over the internet.
Yeah, we were kind of doing like Twitch stuff before Twitch. Yes. I guess we weren't streaming our screens as much, but we were just kind of hanging out, narrating what we were doing in these games and gossiping.
And you may have said, so forgive me, is this someone you met through Habbo?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I made a lot of a lot of friends at the time, but I would say I loosely keep in touch with her and maybe like two other people still to this day, which is to me crazy. Like a couple of them have like kids that are like in middle school.
Wow.
I'm like, that's crazy.
Oh, that's amazing. Like this is when I had one of the other two returning guests for the show, because I can't shut up about it, but it's a thing I threatened to do from like the earliest days of the podcast, was like, whether I said it or the guest was like, hey, I have 50 more games to talk about if you'll have me back. Mikey Stevens, a friend of mine who I don't believe you've done a podcast with before. Was he on the Advent Children? He was on the Advent Children episode. Okay, not this podcast, nice. But yeah. Yes. When we did, speaking of right before Rebirth came out, when we talked about Advent Children on Video Games, a Comedy Show, Mikey was talking, he talked about his time with Team Fortress 2 on his return. And it's just a similar phenomenon that you and other people have had, where you make an online relationship that somehow lasts. And not to put words in anybody's mouth and be like, oh, these are our best friends, but you still keep in touch, like you said, which I just find so like heartwarming. I don't know why, but I love hearing that. Oh, yeah. I love internet friends. Yes, I mean that's kind of what we internet are. Friends. Yeah, and I say much. Kind of, and I'm like, nah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's always my argument. If anybody still thinks it's weird in this day and age, is like, when's the last time you talked to like Jessica from high school that you're Instagram friends with? Like, but you still watch her story every day, Yes, and I won't stop unfollowing her because the drama is too good, and I've got to see it. Exactly. Why is her husband not in these pictures anymore? Yes. Oh, her last name's different. It's her Wait, high school last name. Oh man, that's so good. You also, Kristin, throughout this conversation have like already given some very specific, like awesome memories of like stuff related to this game, from your USA Today story to the DJ deck. When you think about Habbo Hotel, are there other details about the game that you want to like mention as I stutter over my words? Basically what I'm trying to do is be like, is there stuff about this game that you haven't talked about yet that you want to get out there? I just think like, well, there were definitely like these like cool places to hang out. Cool. So you could have your own rooms, but there were also like pre-generated rooms that the company ran, like like they would call them the public lobbies or whatever, and it was not cool to hang out in like one room, but if you went to like hallway 2,
and then you went to the specific spot in hallway 2, that was where like it was cool to hang out. So that was like a cool place to be, not the other part of the hallway. You had to be in this specific part of the hallway. So I just think it was just like a fascinating little microcosm of like how culture works. Like it like built itself up to reflect regular society.
There've
like
been so many
the
things
haves and the have-nots.
Yeah, I mean, you've brought up so many things about this game and, you know, like social aspects of it that are so reflective of life, which is so funny. I wonder, like, how did that stuff even spread? It's just word of mouth, right? Or like maybe sometimes stuff was spread because someone heard a rumor. Maybe like someone actually picked up on something. I find that so fascinating. Yeah,
like if you asked me right now, like, how did you find out about Hallway? No idea. I have no idea how I found out that was like the spot to hang out.
Yes, maybe some genius was like, I'm going to start this rumor and be the person who's hanging out there so that I will become popular.
Great way to become friends.
Oh, yeah. I love that. That's really interesting. This is more of just like a detail question that I could look up. But when it comes to like your room, was there like a function where you could open it up to whoever or close it off? How did that work?
Yeah, you could have like a public or a private room.
Okay.
And then you could make it so where you could like only invite people to the room if it was private. But then also you could have a public room and like I said, like wall it off. There were like little door items. So you could like people could still see your chat. But there was like a proximity chat kind of where like if you set your stuff to like say instead of shout, and you were on the other side of the room, they might just see like a ... by what you were typing. And then you could also whisper each other. And then they had like a little private messenger tool in there as well. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, you know, as we sort of, you know, I kind of like begin to transition us out of our Habbo Hotel discussion. Before I get us to our post-show segments, would you do me a favor and just like put a bow on what place this game held in your life?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, if it's okay, I can read exactly what it was to me because I found a sticky note that I had on my wall when I logged in. And then I have a nice follow up to it as well.
Oh, please.
So you could write these notes, and this was 14-year-old me's very own words. Did you ever notice some of the people you hang out with on Habbo are people you wouldn't ever be hanging out with at school or on the weekends? The goth kids hang out with the preps, skaters hang out with nerds, and whatever combination of labels you can come up with. No matter how much we try to deny it, we all stereotype and we all judge people. Here on Habbo, though, people don't seem to do it as much as in the harsh reality. Maybe it's because we are all ourselves here, or maybe it's because you can see the true good in people because you're not caught up in how their hair is done, what they're wearing, or who their other friends are. Whatever the reason, Habbo helps us to learn not to judge people as much as we used to.
That is just the sweetest John Hughes end of a movie I've ever heard. That's so sweet. What were you going to say though? I'm sorry.
Well, let me follow it up with another sticky note that I found from an anonymous user.
Yeah, ignore this.
It says, Af, I love you. You're such a gay slur. Ever think of the people you knew before you got to the top and everyone loved you? You're such a fucking baba. Rotten hell. You fucking victim, which I think is victim spelled wrong. So that was the dichotomy of Habbo.
Yeah, and that sounds like they did love you, but it was one of those things, or, you know, cared about you, but it was like they expressed themselves in that harsh way like people did in that time?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what that, am I interpreting
that? No, I
that?
think it's legitimate. I think it's actually, because the part about before you got to the top and everyone loved you baffles me because I don't think that was the case with me.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
and also,
my gosh.
Just as a note, Baba was their censor. If you said a swear word, it would say Baba instead. Bobba.
I see. Now I'm going to have to go listen. You know, when I'm putting this episode together, I'm going to go listen to the context you use it in and just really take it personally, however you said it.
I did say it. I did say Baba you.
Oh, you did. That was so great. Is there anything else, you know, you want to say to wrap up about this game, or would you like to move on to some post-show stuff?
Just that, yeah, it meant a lot to me. Definitely, there, like over the COVID pandemic, there was somebody put together this Facebook group called Habbo Reunion.
Oh wow!
And yeah, somebody hit me up about it, and I like
just
reactivated
like every TV
Facebook.
show ever doing a Zoom episode.
Exactly. Exactly. And it was really cool to join, though, like genuinely, and find, first of all, people I knew in real life that I didn't know were also playing Habbo at the same time were in that group.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then also just reconnecting with people I hadn't talked to in 15 years. And it really was like going to a high school reunion. And it was really nice. And then like when I logged on to check how things were and kind of refresh my memory, somebody was online and like popped into my room and like was like, "Hey, how you been?" And I was like, "Holy shit."
Wow.
So yeah, I just, definitely don't think I did everything perfectly as in my time there, but it still, it was a huge part of who I was in that time frame.
I love it. Thank you so much for bringing this game on. As soon as we started this conversation to bring you back and you threw out a couple options. As soon as I saw one that I had no idea what it was, I knew I had to have you bring the obscure one. And that's obscure only to me, Habbo Hotel. Kristin, thanks for bringing it on. But I got some post-show segments for you. The first of which is the Fact Me by Your Game segment, of course, where I just tell my guest some fun facts about their game. I'll tell you, though, I don't have a fun fact to tell you, but what I do have...
This is a harrowing fact.
I do have a list. Yeah, this is going to be like the follow-up note that you had. I do have a list that I'm going to drop in the chat of the celebrity visits that celebrities made to Habbo Hotel, because I found that is actually was like... It
was a thing.
A whole thing for this game. I just wanted to like look at this, but you can scroll by year. It has from 2022 and before, basically. Scrolling back to the beginning, it says visits before 2006 that they know of. I don't know if you scrolled down there, but they've got the Gorillaz, the band.
Yes,
is listed. Yeah. I mean, even as we get into this conversation, was this something you were aware of? And like, would you try to go see celebrities as their avatars came in?
I forgot about Gorillaz specifically, but now I do remember that. But I did go to the Canadian website because this artist named Sky Sweetnam was going to be on there. So that's the only time that I ever like went out of my way to try and see one.
That's so funny.
So I did know it was a thing, but I totally forgot about it.
Like just scrolling through these lists, it's insane. Even just from 2006, like some highlights here.
Oasis is on here.
Oasis is on there?
In 2007, yeah, that's crazy. Were they even together?
I like to believe that they remembered that they did the visit to Habbo, and that's why they just announced their reunion.
Their reunion is at Habbo Hotel.
Yeah, see, that's why no one can get tickets. So Chameleonaire in 2006, also Jesse McCartney, Akon is there. I mean, so many other great ones. Are there any as you're looking through here that you want to shout out?
Yeah, like the Veronicas, big deal to me.
Oh my gosh.
I saw up here in 2012, which would have been well past my time, but I love Carly Rae Jepsen.
Oh yes.
That's exciting to
Huge.
me.
Do we know, is Cher Lloyd Cher?
No, Cher is just Cher. Cher Lloyd is not Cher.
I can't believe I even asked that. We've got some great...
I think that's a hate crime.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Cher. One that I want to point out too, well, a couple, because they're probably related. I went to a Christian college called Azusa Pacific University, and before that, when I was in high school, very involved in youth group, I went to this sleepaway like youth retreat in Tennessee, and I'm from California, so like basically there'd be a mass exodus of Christian kids to the University of Tennessee for like 5 days, kind of a glorified summer camp. And the band that we saw play there, they visited in 2010, Family Force 5. I don't know if you've heard of this band. They're like a mullet band. I mean, there's probably hair metal band. But you know, still, yeah, right. Still pretty good natured, but I'm seeing Owl City is below them. Demi Lovato visited. And then the most shocking one in this run, Stephen Baldwin was visited. So
it's a wild list. Jason Derulo's on here.
Yes.
Also,
I'm just going to put a link to this in the show notes by our plugs so that if listeners want to scroll through and see and wonder, did Soulja Boy ever visit? You might be able to find the answer to that question. Anyway, Kristin, I just wanted to share that with you. No fun facts from me.
These were fun facts, though.
We'll take it.
I think so.
Yeah. Finally, I'll move us to the final segment of the podcast, the game recommendations. And as you probably remember, Kristin, this is my one forced tie-in to the movie Call Me By Your Name, where I am going to treat Habbo Hotel like your Army Hammer, your Italian fling that you have in the summer. But like the movie, things aren't going to work out with Habbo Hotel. So in order to help you get over the heartbreak, I've got 3 potential new flings for you that all have a little something in common. So are you ready to get back out there?
I'm so ready.
Great. If you would have said no, I don't know what I would have done. The first of which is if you want to visit another iconic virtual world that is somehow even more kiddie on its surface. It's a game you already referenced. I was going to reference Club Penguin. I mean, it goes, as soon as I saw this thing, I was like, oh, the first thing I thought of was Club Penguin.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know wait, did we establish how old you are and how old I am?
I'm 33. I was born in 1990.
Okay, I'm almost 35, but I feel like somehow like Club Penguin, like I missed that boat. Like completely.
I missed it too. It was definitely too after my time as well, but it's one that like I think my friends' little siblings would play, so I kind of was aware of it. I feel like even within the last few years, it's been in the news. But anyway, that's one other very, very similar game. The next recommendation, I just have written down, fuck it, Gary's Mod. Do you know what Gary's Mod is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I had to bring this one up because we've talked about the Half-Life series so much together.
Yes.
Can you describe Gary's Mod to the listener for us?
Yeah, Gary's Mod is like using the Half-Life for like the source engine. And it's just a big sandbox game where you can kind of do whatever you want in it with resources from those games. But then people have also made their own like mini games. Actually, that's a great parallel to Habbo because people have made their own mini games. Like there's like role play servers. There's Trouble in Terrorist Town, which is like a hidden like a hide and go seek type game and stuff. Like, yeah, there's all sorts of little games that are just made in Gary's Mod. I
just doing research for this, like looking up games similar to Habbo Hotel. Somehow this came up, and at first I was like I said earlier, it's Half-Life. I got to bring it up on the show. But the things that it did have in common with Habbo, or like did differently, I had to bring it up. So that's one of your recommendations. It's just playing some Gary's Mod, and then lastly is were you gonna say something?
Oh no, I just said perfect. I'll do it.
Awesome. The final recommendation is if all you really cared about in this game in Habbo Hotel is the hotel element, you just can't get enough of a hotel, then I'll recommend a dang home run of a game, which is Luigi's Mansion 3.
Ooh, I love Luigi's Mansion 3.
It's awesome.
The first one, the only one I've played, actually. It's great.
Oh, I'll say it's my personal favorite of the 3. I think it is. All 3 of them are structured differently. I mean, you can make an argument that the first one and the third are structured the same. It's just that the third one does so much more with the premise. But normally the third recommendation I do is the most joke of them all, but I just had to bring it out there, and you've already played it.
No, that's a great, I was like, what game is in a hotel that he's gonna recommend me?
There are definitely other smaller games that are, or like, of course, scenes that take place in a hotel. Like, did you play Alan Wake 2?
No, not yet. Well, that's actually one of my most anticipated. I need to play.
Oh, dude. Truly, it was like my 1B favorite game of the year last year. Alan Wake stepped into my life.
You and your 1As and your 1Bs, by the way.
You know what? Truly.
Get out of here.
I am a menace. It will all have that the crossover is Tears of the Kingdom is the 1A or 1B on 2 different lists.
Of course.
Anyway, to wrap up the recs, I'll just summarize them again. We've got Club Penguin, Gary's Mod, and Luigi's Mansion 3. Kristin, that'll do it for the game recs, and that'll do it to bring us to the end of the show. So before we go and plug stuff, whatever we want to today, dude, thanks again for coming back. I just can't tell you how much fun I always have talking with you about games. So I'm so glad you could do it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that we've established we are for real friends.
Yes.
And honestly, I will come back anytime. If you have somebody drop, I have a million billion games that I love and could talk to you about.
Now that's
at a
guest,
moment's notice.
Folks. That's a guest right there. Well, it won't be the last time. Just fully expect me. Of course, I'm going to get you on a co-op or something next year. But on our way out, I know we kind of plugged your Twitch channel earlier, but do you want to plug that or anything else today?
Yeah, I also have a YouTube channel, which I don't upload often to, but I do pretty much. The only reason I maintain it is because I love to post top 10 videos at the end of the year of my top 10 favorite games that I played that year that like are new games. That's also Kristin. And then I'm Kristin on Blue Sky as well.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'll put links to all of your stuff in the show notes. And I will say those videos are awesome. I watched your one last year when you released it. And I think you had ones from years before that I was just like, I'm just going to keep this rolling and watch more and more.
Thank you.
You betcha. But without further ado, I'll just go ahead and close this out with some plugs of my own. The show art for Call Me By Your Game is done by Glenn J. You can find him and his great work on Instagram at Glenn with 2 N's.jay. The show is edited, produced, and the original music that you hear throughout is done by Jeremy Schmidt. If you want to thank him for the hard work he puts into this show, you can listen to his podcast, Video Games, a comedy show, wherever you get yours. If you want to follow Call Me By Your Game at a number of places, you got the opportunity, folks. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. We have a TikTok as well. There's links in the show notes for all of those. Same goes for our podcast network here, Super NPC Radio, for that Twitch channel, the Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. You can also follow me if you want to. I'm all over those places, especially Twitch, where I've actually been streaming lately. I just, on the day we're recording, I finished Psychonauts 2. I don't know what I'm going to play next. I'm kind of I'm juggling a few things, but one thing that I threw out there, Kristin, was I'm considering, because I just got it on a sale, playing the Max Payne game, the first one.
Ooh, I've never played a single Max Payne. You know, people love them. You should do it.
They do, and there's you may know this, but Remedy and Sam Lake, that's who also made Alan Wake. So there's like some Remedy universe stuff I might start to tie together.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where you can find me on Twitch. And again, if you're still here at this part of the show and you want more podcasts from me, if you've listened to this catalog, check us out on Patreon. We're over at patreon.com/supernpcradio, where at whatever tier you're at, you know, $1 and up, you get bonus stuff, including our games club, which I just said for the final quarter of this year, we're going to be playing through Death Stranding in a book club format, releasing episodes. Schedule still to come, but that's going to come out for, you know, at least 10 Fridays in the fall. Have you played that one, Kristin?
No, I am not a Kojima girly.
Hey,
very much.
You know what? Not
more
everybody
power
is.
to everyone who is.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I like his games, so I think I'm going to enjoy this insane one. But anyway, that'll do it for the plugs, and that'll do it for this episode of Call Me By Your Game. We will see you on the next one.